The sponsor of today's video is Raycon wireless earbuds. Father's Day is coming and dads deserve the best without breaking the bank. That's why I'm obsessed with Raycon everyday earbuds, the perfect gift for any dad. These earbuds are a game changer with 32-hour battery life and active noise cancellation. Perfect for dad's gym sessions or tuning out background noise while he listens to his favorite podcasts. I love the quick charge feature. Just 10 minutes gives you 90 minutes of playtime. Plus, the ergonomic design is so comfortable, they never fall out even during my runs. Raycon's carbon black color is my favorite, and check out this protective case, sleek, stylish, and supports wireless charging. Click on the link below or go to buyraycon.com/SPTV to get 15% off everything site-wide. Raycons are half the price of other leading premium brands with a 30-day happiness guarantee. It's a no-brainer. So for the perfect Father's Day gift, be sure to go to buyraycon.com/SPTV and get 15% off everything site-wide. All right, everyone, welcome back for more SPTV, where every day is a great day not to be in a cult. All right, guys, it is official. Scientology's effort to buy a street in downtown Clearwater as the first step of a greater grand master plan to acquire a bunch of public property in exchange for false promises to the people of Clearwater is dead in the water. And David Miscavige did. Honestly, it's even a little sweeter. It's even a little sweeter. David Miscavige had to proactively admit defeat. And instead of waiting until the last minute to see how the city council was going to vote and be utterly humiliated, David Miscavige says, you know what? I think I'm going to take my ball and I'm going to go home. And Scientology's attorneys informed the city council that they were officially withdrawing their application to vacate, for the city to vacate, and then for Scientology to buy the street, the block of South Garden Avenue that would be right in front of the L. Ron Hubbard Hall that Scientology is preparing to construct in downtown Clearwater. They officially revoked, pulled back their application. I'm going to share with you in a moment a short video that Brooks Gibbs posted to the YouTube channel dedicated to this project called Save the Garden. He uploaded a video. I'm going to share it with you explaining what has happened. But before I share that video, I'm just going to read for you. It's easier for me to read this than do a screen share. This has been posted all over social media. It says, the city of Clearwater was notified last night of the Church of Scientology's request to withdraw their application to vacate Garden Avenue that was scheduled to be on tonight's city council meeting agenda. That item has been pulled from the agenda and the item will no longer be discussed. This was in a letter from Scientology's attorney, quote, based on the discussions to date surrounding the application, Scientology has determined to supplement its application with additional information addressing its need for the Garden Avenue property, including life safety concerns. Scientology has also determined that issues surrounding title to the property should be reviewed in depth. Now, other people may not take it the same way that I did here, but that last sentence to me sounds slightly threatening. To me, it sounds slightly like Scientology is implying that they have discovered that the city has maybe not been completely honest and forthcoming and transparent about who owns the title and all that kind of stuff. I could be wrong. It's just sort of how I read it. When it says we're going to amend our application to address life safety concerns, this has to do with Scientology operative Sarah Heller claiming that the reason Scientology needs to shut down the street is really for safety. You guys, it's for safety. She says this at the same time that she says nobody really uses that street anyway. But guys, for safety reasons, Scientology needs to close down the street. I already discussed in yesterday's video, and I will discuss in future videos, how the very idea that in order to access L. Ron Hubbard Hall, you have to cross South Garden Avenue from west to east. South Garden Avenue runs north-south. That you have to cross the street from west to east is completely false. There's nothing on the west side of the street to walk to the hall from. It's just a completely empty landscaped area. And on the opposite side of the landscaped area is a main artery in downtown Clearwater. No, not even Scientologists would enter L. Ron Hubbard Hall crossing South Garden Avenue from west to east. They would cross it. They would access the hall by crossing from north to south. And that's not the street Scientology is asking to close. And the reason they would cross it from north to cross the street north of, they would they would walk to L. Ron Hubbard Hall by approaching it from the north and crossing the street that is directly to the north of L. Ron Hubbard Hall, is because that's where all the other Scientology properties are. And if David Miscavige wanted to be really clever, he would simply not put the entrance to L. Ron Hubbard Hall on the west side. He would just put it on the north side, and all this would be a moot issue. But all of this is all just a moot. The issue is moot because all of this is just a charade. David Miscavige doesn't want non-Scientologists in downtown Clearwater. Everything David Miscavige is promising to the people of Clearwater, and has been for decades, is all just a scam. It seems like the city council members are starting to understand this. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Will Scientology come back and try again? Absolutely, they will. Absolutely. It's all they have to do. There's nothing occupying David Miscavige's time other than figuring out how to exact, how to carry out, how to execute his plan to have control of as much as Clearwater as possible, with the only point being so that he can keep as many people away from the flagland base as possible. To be honest, it's not even a matter of trying to take over Clearwater. It's not even that. It's really a matter of keeping people away from Scientology's most important base, keeping people away from the base where David Miscavige spends most of his time. Do you see? It's a slight difference, but there is a nuance here. Scientology doesn't have enough members to take over downtown Clearwater. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, they don't have what it takes, guys. There's only maybe 20, 25, 30,000 at the most Scientologists in the entire world. There's only about 3,000 Scientologists in all of Tampa Bay. Not Clearwater, guys. All of Tampa Bay, there's about 3,000 Scientologists. In Clearwater, there's about 120,000 citizens. You'd be lucky to get 2,000, 2,500. You'd be lucky. It'd be crazy to be able to come up with 2,500 actual Scientologist residents of Clearwater. Scientologists are about 2% of the population in Clearwater. They couldn't take over anything. But that's why they just buy up all the property. They buy up all the property. They leave it vacant. They leave it empty. They put some BS smokescreen fake Scientology front group in there. No one's in the building anyway. And it's to keep non-Scientologists away from David Miscavige. That's what all this is about anyway. Okay, so let me see here. I want to share with you. I'm going to play this on a slightly accelerated speed. First of all, here is the YouTube channel that Brooks Gibbs and his team created for the purpose of putting up information about the Save the Garden project. And here is the video that Brooks posted explaining what has happened and where we are at and what is going to be happening in the future. I'm going to put up the volume on this. Here we go.
Congratulations, everyone. We saved the garden. You know, for over a year and a half, the Church of Scientology has been negotiating with the city of Clearwater about 3 properties, and to ultimately convince them to vacate and sell the first property, South Garden Avenue. And the public only heard about it a few months ago when the city created 2 agenda items to be voted on. The first agenda item was ID 9812-25, and that was a request to vacate or give up South Garden Avenue. And the second agenda item was ID 25-0263. And that was ultimately to declare as surplus and sell the property to the Church of Scientology. It was Mike Mastruserio who brought it to Kelly Meyer's attention, who then brought it to my wife's attention, who then brought it to my attention. And I want you to think about that. This incredible Save the Garden movement began when one man, Mike Mastruserio, said, hey, we've got to stop this. You see, that's the way it goes. And that was the first lesson I learned in this journey. Lesson number 1, all it takes is one to start a movement. And when my wife approached me about the Church of Scientology attempting to purchase South Garden Avenue, I was hesitant at first. I was deep into major projects at work. I wasn't sure if I had the bandwidth to take it on. But I've learned that when my wife asked me to do something, she's already considered all of that. So I asked her directly, are you really asking me to do this? And she nodded. And I said, okay. And that's lesson number 2 I learned. When someone asks you to get involved, do it. My first step was to explore our legal options, and we basically had 2 choices. Number 1, attend the next city council meeting and protest the street vacation publicly within my 3 minutes of allotted time for comment. Or number 2, I could submit an alternative use proposal in case the city did decide to vacate the land and declare it as surplus. So we decided to choose the latter. But truthfully, I had no idea what to propose. So I began watching recordings of every council meeting and every public comment tied to this issue, hoping for some sort of inspiration. And that's when I heard Barbara Sori Love of the Clearwater African American Foundation. She spoke during the March 17th council meeting, and she shared a forgotten story about the Garden, one of 3 historically Black self-sustaining communities that thrived during segregation. But unlike Greenwood and the Heights, the Garden has largely vanished from public memory. It existed on Garden Avenue, which is the long road directly tied to the South Garden Avenue road the city was about to vacate. And that brings me to lesson number 3. If you are willing to diligently look for a solution to any problem, you will find it. And here's an important note. While I was researching, and unbeknownst to me, Kelly Meyer, our dear friend and member of our team, she also discovered Barbara's story while doing her own research. I didn't know this till later, but Kelly actually wrote some of the council members, including Councilman Mannino, and she asked if they were willing to postpone vacating the property and selling it to Scientology, just wait on that until they could first hear a compelling idea from someone like Barbara Sori Love of the Clearwater African American Foundation. But no one responded to her request. I found all of this out later, and it confirmed to me that, you know what, if I'm thinking about it and Kelly's thinking about it, we should pursue a partnership with Miss Barbara, which leads me to lesson number 4. Do not move forward with an idea until you receive confirmation from others. Barbara's story lit a fire in me and our whole team. I did the research, I verified the history, I vetted Barbara's background and reputation, and she vetted us as well. And then with clarity and conviction, Kelly and I reached out to her and invited her to co-create a new proposal with us, one that would honor the history of the Garden and provide an inspiring community-driven use for that street. That leads me to lesson number 5. Step out and find out. You never know who will work with you until you simply ask. It was April 3rd, the very day the council was expected to vote 3-2 to vacate Garden Avenue and sell it to Scientology. That's when we submitted our proposal at the final hour. And miraculously, Councilman David Albritton made a motion to delay the vote, giving the city and our team time to refine our proposal. I cannot tell you what a good man David Albritton is. He truly is. He truly wants what is best for the people. And I've seen it. He agonizes over his decisions. He gave us the time that we needed to gain momentum. So we met with the city manager and with each council member to gather feedback about our proposal. We launched a website, savethegarden.org, produced short documentaries. We hosted live events to rally supporters. We collected over 1,000 petition signatures. Not only that, but we generated media attention across Tampa Bay and beyond. And in a short time, Save the Garden became a major movement in our city and garnered tremendous support. That leads me to lesson number 6. Our city has good people on the city streets and in the city seats. Many have told us that they are amazed at how much we've accomplished in such a short time. But not everything went smoothly? Miscommunication caused some African American leaders to feel excluded from the initial vision. Or maybe they feared that city funds meant for their projects might be redirected towards ours. And this led a few to write letters to the city council opposing our plan. And as soon as we learned of this, our team reached out. We scheduled meetings and we listened to their concerns and we worked hard to build unity. And thankfully, most of the conversations were productive. Once we were able to offer clarity, we turned most of our critics into allies. But unfortunately, a few organizations that received funding from the Church of Scientology, they declined to meet with us and they remain in opposition to us this very day.
Yep.
It is these critics of ours that a couple of council members eagerly point to as, evidence of our group causing problems in the African American community, also implying that we are using the African American people as pawns to block the Church of Scientology from acquiring this land, when in fact we have always clearly communicated our intent. We don't want the city to give up the land. And in the event the city gives up the land, it is within our rights as citizens to submit an alternative proposal. And our friend Barbara Sori Love was the only one who offered an alternative vision for that street. And so our group simply supported her to make that happen. So let me just take a moment to address these accusations. To suggest that my team and I are deceitful manipulators, that's flat out wrong. Anyone who spends time with us knows that we are the real deal. We are sincere to the core. And to suggest that Miss Barbara Sori Love and others in the African American community are easily manipulated by us, well, that's an insult to their intelligence. This is a very low view of high quality people, which leads me to lesson number 7. When people slander you, let them. So here we are now with quite a turn of events. On the day that city council is supposed to vote, the Church of Scientology backs out of their initial street vacation request, which according to the city nullifies all alternative proposals. And the selling of the street now is off the table until the Church of Scientology regroups and tries again, which they will. It's like when you were a kid and you were playing basketball with one of your friends that was not very good at playing. And when he knows he's losing, right before your victory, he says, I quit, and he takes his ball and goes home. That's what Scientology is doing. So you know what happened, though? We accomplished our first objective. We stopped the city from vacating this public land. The pressure of our campaign applied, and the courage that David Albritton, Vice Mayor Lena Teixeira, and Mayor Bruce Rector showed, well, that caused the Church of Scientology to fold. Our next step is to immediately work with the city to secure a 100-year lease on a portion of South Garden Avenue through a public-private partnership. This is what we included in our proposal. We never wanted them to give up and sell this public land. We would be elated to simply lease it from them and install the Garden Memorial, which is the entrance to a mile-long memorial walkway throughout downtown that we are designing. It's an interactive multimedia experience that tells the story of old Clearwater. We believe that this project can be a source of deep healing for our city. There's real pain surrounding the loss of our downtown to the Church of Scientology, and we see our initiative as a godsend, an opportunity to preserve land and honor a shared history. We are committed to staying the course and completing the task before us. The story of Clearwater deserves to be told and remembered. Hey, thank you. Thank you for following and supporting our efforts to save the garden.
Isn't that awesome? Guys, Brooks Gibbs really is a master at his craft and an amazing and excellent communicator and is very effective. And, you know, if not for him and his team and all of the hard work that they have put in, we would not be here today celebrating the absolute destruction of David Miscavige's plan to complete his takeover of downtown Clearwater. So thank you, Brooks. Thank you to everyone on your team for what you guys have done. And thank you to the hundreds and hundreds of you who have emailed the city council members, the Clearwater mayor. I've seen all of the emails that you've copied me on. I've seen all the responses that you've copied me on. I obviously can't respond to everybody, but this really has been a group effort. And, you know, I've seen some comments about, you know, maybe some disappointment that the alternative proposal was not accepted, so that, you know, there's still a chance for Scientology to come back. No matter what happened, even if the vote was actually held tonight, even if the item had not been taken off the agenda, even if Scientology was officially voted down today, that would literally not preclude David Miscavige in any way from coming back and trying again. So honestly, David Miscavige taking this item off of the agenda, requesting that it be taken off the agenda, is Miscavige admitting defeat. If Miscavige had actually moved forward and allowed this to stay on the agenda and allowed it to be voted on, that would have indicated that Miscavige actually still had some belief that this was going to pass. I also want to point out that the only reason that Brooks and his group was offering to buy the street in a competitive proposal is because they were trying to compete with Scientology's proposal. And now that the street is not being vacated and the street is not being sold, there's no reason for Brooks and his group to move forward with the proposal that they previously had meaning Brooks and his team don't have to buy the street in order to move forward with their plan. Their plan doesn't require the city of Clearwater to vacate the street. Their plan doesn't require the city of Clearwater to declare the street surplus and to sell it and to have it be closed. Brooks Gibbs and his team are able to move forward with their plan in a cooperative effort with the city that leaves the street in the city's hands, that leaves it open to the public, that leaves the street open to traffic. And that's why, because remember, the order of business tonight at the city council meeting had to do with declaring it surplus, declaring the street surplus, voting to vacate the street, and then I believe separately there would be a motion to actually execute the sale and execute the agreement with Scientology for a future sale. Now that vacating the street is off the table, it really wasn't appropriate for tonight's business to include voting on Brooks's proposal. Do you see how this works? Because the vacation is now off the table as a thing. And so conversations between Brooks and his team in the city can move forward discussing more of, like Brooke said in that video, like a 99-year lease situation, and moving forward with a plan that doesn't close the street. So I think that's important to understand. Okay, let's see. Let's go through some starred comments. Waspbeer, thank you so much for the super sticker. Excellent to see you. Waspbeer also says, does American census data not ask for religion, and do Scientologists not declare it? Waspbeer, I think the census, it's optional. You can opt in, and I'm hearing a lot of noise. Oh, I think it's the dryer in the other room. I think you can opt in and say what religious group you belong to, but it's not mandatory. And I've never personally seen any census data in the US for Scientology. But luckily, anyone who's had anything to do with the Scientology organization can sort of do the math from the bottom up on what they see in their local areas and extrapolate out the number of Scientologists in the US and in the world. Sandy McKenna, one small street for Clearwater, one giant L for Scientology. I love it. Good to see you, Sandy. Dave's Deep Dives. Okay, in other words, doesn't this give Davey a reason for not keeping his promise to the Scientologists concerning the building of L. Ron Hubbard Hall? It certainly does. Now, I would argue that David Miscavige announcing the construction of L. Ron Hubbard Hall, or the groundbreaking that was supposed to occur sometime in the next 3 months, I wouldn't characterize that so much as a promise to the Scientologists, because I don't think your average Scientologist gives a damn whether there's an L. Ron Hubbard Hall. Why do they care? It makes no difference to the life of a day-to-day Scientologist. It's really more him announcing good news, announcing plans. David Miscavige could easily just, but you understand, David Miscavige has been announcing the imminent release of OT 9 and 10 for over 20 years. And it does not cause David Miscavige any embarrassment to every year at any one of the events get up there and simply not announce the release of OT 9 and 10. David Miscavige can just pretend like just move on as if nothing happened, pretend like he never said anything, because no one's really allowed to question either. So if Miscavige announced the groundbreaking of L. Ron Hubbard Hall this summer, which he did, and if he chooses not to do the groundbreaking, he's not going to make an announcement saying that they're not doing the groundbreaking. He's just going to ignore the fact that he ever made the announcement in the first place. And because Scientologists are already conditioned to never question anything, especially management, especially David Miscavige, nobody will say anything. And people will just assume that whatever's happening, it's for the best, because David Miscavige knows best. And he's the most competent leader, as Tom Cruise would say, the leader of leaders. And so if something is delayed, if David Miscavige couldn't fix it, that means nobody in the world could have ever fixed it. And it just won't honestly be a big deal. I can tell you, Scientologists are not waiting with bated breath for the construction of L. Ron Hubbard Hall. They could not possibly care less. There are so many more important things they've been being promised every year that never come to fruition. L. Ron Hubbard Hall is the last thing any Scientologist is thinking about. I mean, I remember when I was still in the Sea Org almost 20 years ago, we were told that the entire ideal org strategy was going to be completed within 12 months. We were told it was all going to be slam dunked at the same time. They had the world's, leading architectural design and construction firms. One of the ways that the project was going to be done as financially efficiently as possible is by getting it all done at the same time. Is how Scientology was going to get the best deal, the cheapest, total construction costs. That was 20 years ago. The project isn't even half done. So this is the orders of magnitude of disappointment that Scientologists are used to getting. I mean, honestly, could you imagine if 20 years ago, David Miscavige announced the ideal org project and said, this is the key to planetary clearing. This is the key to releasing OT 9 and 10. And I've got good news, guys. This plan's going to get done in 20 years will be done. Now, guys, if he had said that, there would have been an actual revolt. People ask all the time, is there any way to get rid of David Miscavige? The answer is no. But if David Miscavige ever announced a plan for creating St. Hill-sized orgs, releasing OT 9 and 10, and said this will be a 20-year plan, I truly believe whatever mechanism exists or doesn't exist, Scientologists would rise up, revolt, and figure out how to get rid of David Miscavige. And yet here we are. The reality is 20 years later, the plan's not even half done. and Scientologists don't even question it. This is the power that David Miscavige has over the minds of his cult members. And so, OT 9 and 10 is supposed to be what all Scientologists are even here for. Going up the bridge, going full OT, achieving native state. That's only supposed to be possible with OT 9 and 10. And this guy's been promising that it's coming this year or next year, every year for the last 20 to 25 years. And it just doesn't happen. And I know I'm repeating myself, but it's like, so just imagine how little Scientologists care about L. Ron Hubbard Hall, a new place to hold the Scientology events that have been being held without any problems outside of L. Ron Hubbard Hall, for the last 40 years. Nobody cares about this project. It's just a David Miscavige glamour vanity project, and also a way to try and shift the blame for the blight that is downtown Clearwater over to the city officials and off of the shoulders of David Miscavige himself. Xenu Golf Club says, congratulations and a pat on the back to everyone who spoke at the meeting who made this happen. I totally agree with that sentiment, Xenu Golf Club, and also to all of you all over the country and even all over the world who emailed into the council members and helped them understand what was actually going on. Ren again says, better to withdraw than to lose the vote. Isn't that right, little Davy? And I totally agree with this as well. In a way, I would have much rather personally seen it go to a vote, but just so that I could take personal joy and satisfaction in seeing this all play out, in public on the world stage. It would feel like an extra layer of humiliation and embarrassment to David Miscavige. And you guys know nothing makes me happier than seeing David Miscavige embarrassed and humiliated. But this is okay. This is okay as well. It shows Miscavige knew he had no chance to flip David Albritton back over to his side before the vote. And so honestly, everyone who knows how Scientology's dirty money works its magic is going to be wondering, okay, but what levers will Miscavige pull to switch David Albritton back over to his side the next time? That remains to be seen, guys. That remains to be seen. The thing is, the reason I'm optimistic that David Albritton will stay the course for the rest of his term on the city council is that the demand that David Albritton gave, it's perfectly reasonable. It's perfectly reasonable. He said, hey, Scientology, you guys have these 3 or 4 properties you're in the middle of renovating on Cleveland Street. You are promising us that normal businesses where everyone will be welcome, non-Scientologists, will go into these places, and that you'll do the same for the rest of downtown Clearwater. You know what? Just show us. Stop telling us. Just show us. Finish renovating the buildings. Put the businesses in there so that the people of Clearwater can see for themselves that you are able and do intend to carry through on these promises that you've made. It should not be up to the city council to convince the people of Clearwater that you can be trusted. It should be up to you to show the people of Clearwater that you can be trusted. And that's just fair. Now, we all know Scientology can't be trusted. David Miscavige is lying. They don't want to develop downtown Clearwater. We all know that. But even if the city council knows that, it's still perfectly fair to say, hey, Miscavige, stop talking and just show us. I just don't see Albritton being convinced that that's unreasonable, that that's just too far. I just don't see it. And I think I said this yesterday on Natalie's live stream. I'll say it on this live stream as well. It is very important that people understand the influence of Scientology's money in local politics. And I have a no politics rule on this channel, but locally, politically, there are very stark realities that need to be understood and need to be talked about. Okay. Ryan Cotton, Michael Mannino, David Albritton, all members of the local Republican Party. Okay, the local, the city, the county, the state Republican Party. The top, most influential local Republican lobbyists are on Scientology's payroll. First, it was Mary Repper, then it was Joe Burdett, then it was Brian Ongst Jr. Okay, Brian Ongst Jr.'s father, Brian Ongst, has been the mayor of Clearwater more than once and is one of the more well-known influential members of the local Republican establishment. Joe Burdett is the best friend of Frank Hibbard. Frank Hibbard was the mayor just a couple years ago. He used to be the mayor a long time ago as well. Joe Burdett, Frank Hibbard, all these people, highly influential in local Republican politics, all tied to the Latvalas, all tied to Chris Sprouse, all tied eventually to Ron DeSantis. This is just a fact. Okay. When the wealthiest Scientologist, Trish Duggan, has donated millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars to the Republican cause and political action committees, and then that money flows into the state, the county, the city, the county, and the state Republican PACs. And then those PACs funnel that money back into the city council elections for people like Ryan Cotton and Michael Mannino and David Albritton. It truly is a miracle that David Albritton changed his vote. And it should not cause anyone to wonder what the hell is going on with Ryan Cotton and Michael Mannino. They are bought and sold by Scientology's money at this point. Not directly from Scientology, but through the political action committees that are being funded by Scientologists' very generous donations. Okay, this is just a fact. Mary Repper, Joe Burdett, Brian Onks Jr. Brian Onks Jr. is the deputy chairman of the county Republican Party, and he is on Scientology's payroll. Now, Brian Onks Jr. would say, it's not Scientology's payroll. I work for Moises Agami, and Moises Agami works for David Miscavige. Okay? Moises Agami is the money man that David Miscavige is using to buy all these properties. Brian Onks Jr. is Moises Agami's land use and real estate attorney. This is how the influence is peddled through these local Republican, everyone's about to come back in the house, through these local Republican power brokers and Scientology's lobbyist money. This is how it is, guys. I don't care how you feel about the Republican Party, for or against. I don't care. This is the reality of Scientology's money and politics in Clearwater, Florida, and Pinellas County and the state of Florida. Okay? It's why Pam Bondi got sucked into doing a campaign fundraiser at the Fort Harrison Hotel. This is the reason. Okay, I'm just going to tell everyone that, hey guys, I'm live, just so you know. Meaning not for my sake, but for all your sake. I am live, just so you know. Oh, okay, good. Okay, good. Watching you in the car. Okay, good. I'm almost done though. Okay. Lori Marie says, I know that my numerous emails did nothing, but I will pretend that they did. LOL. Lori Marie, your emails and everyone's emails absolutely had an impact. So thank you. Thank you. Elston Gunn says, congratulations, Clearwater. George Massey says, awesome news. Well done, everyone that campaigned against this. Abigail says, I thought you guys were traveling today. When do you guys leave? Our flights leave in about 8 to 9 hours. Those of us going to Clearwater depart a little bit later than those of us going to Minnesota. But yeah, we got, and the airport's only 40 minutes away. So. Lauren B says, I thought that Mike was voting yes, but he told someone else to stop Scientology from buying the street. I'm confused. Here's why it's confusing. There are two Mikes and their last names sound the same. Michael Mannino and Michael Mastruserio. And the Mike that Brooks Gibbs was talking about, who opposes Scientology's efforts, is Mike Mastruserio. The Mike on the city council, who seems to be in Scientology's pocket at this point, whether he realizes it or not, is Michael Mannino. Very confusing. Eunice Swagpants, you know that they pulled the request because they didn't want a losing vote to add more public humiliation into little Captain Davy's already overflowing cup. You are absolutely correct. Abigail says, I don't see the answer changing unless David Miscavige waits until after the next city council election to ask again. Abigail, I completely agree with you. Remember, Scientology's in no rush. David Miscavige is in no rush. He doesn't need L. Ron Hubbard Hall. It's just a fundraising opportunity. And it's a nice way to like additionally put his stamp on Clearwater, put Scientology's stamp on Clearwater, be able to make it look like Scientology is still expanding, gaining influence. How could we not? We have L. Ron Hubbard Hall in Clearwater, Florida, but he doesn't really need it. It's just a sideshow. It's a distraction. And so my point being, if Miscavige decides that he decides he wants to wait 4 years to get another council, absolutely. I mean, that's what he's been saying for the last 8 years. When I said that Miscavige has been trying to convince the city council to do this for 8 years, it wasn't 8 years nonstop. It's 8 years ago he tried. The council said no. He said, I'll wait for the next council. Then he got a next council. That council said no. He said, I'll wait for the next council. Then he got this council. It almost worked. I'm sure he will eventually just wait for the next council. I'm just not sure that's going to work out so well for him. All righty. Cherie Ballard says, because they pulled it before it was discussed, could that leave the door open for it to be resubmitted for discussion? Resubmitted for discussion. Well, not at this meeting. And again, like I said before, even if it had gone to a vote today and been voted down, he could always just submit another application the next day. It's not like a lawsuit where if it gets dismissed, it's dismissed with prejudice and you can't bring it again. It's not like that at all. Anything that gets voted down can still be resubmitted, re-asked for, renegotiated, re-voted on. Ren again says, so does this mean Ryan Cotton will not receive his bonus? Yes, it seems like Ryan Cotton maybe was hoping that after his tenure on the Clearwater City Council, maybe he could be Scientology's next paid lobbyist, but he doesn't seem to be very effective in lobbying anything at all. So the revolving door of Clearwater City Council membership and Scientology lobbyist might be a broken door for Ryan Cotton. Jeff Augustine, the Scientology Money Project, an elite unit of 1,000 Sea Org crossing guards can be used to make crossing Garden Avenue safe. That's a funny thing to imagine. Power lies to paralyze. I was apathetic about Garden Avenue. I'm glad I was wrong. Me too, power lies. Ren again, I still think that someone should still attend the council meeting to make sure they don't try to sneak something in. Of course, I know for sure Erica, Definite Trouble Source, will be there. I'm almost positive Dusty will be there as well. I saw the group chat this morning. People are definitely going to be there. And realize these meetings are live streamed anyway. So there's no way for something sneaky to be done at the last minute. And based on private conversations that have occurred with the mayor and other council members, there's really no chance of something being snuck in at the last minute. I mean, Scientology just doesn't have the votes they need to get this through. Jenny Matthews with my exact sentiment. Suck it, Davey, you twisted Keebler elf. Yes, that is pretty much exactly what I would have said at the city council meeting if I had been in town and if this had gone up for a vote. I would have been nice and polite and professional for about 2 minutes and 55 seconds. And then for my last 5 seconds, that's exactly what I would have said. Suck it, you little weasel. Ecliptic Sir says, yep, Ecliptic Sir. Crip walking right now. Let's go. Lady Pamela, thank you for being a member for 14 months. This just made my day. Thanks so much, Aaron. Constance June gifted 5 channel memberships. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And it doesn't matter to you and not to me. Good to see you, Rib Guy. Sorry for the early morning texts. It was worth it. Absolutely. I never mind. Okay, folks, that's it. Just wanted to bring you the amazing news. And this one goes out to you, Dave. Suck it, you little weasel. All right. Thanks for hanging out with me, guys. And we're heading back home tonight. It's going to feel so good to be home. This was absolutely the best vacation I've ever had. Had the best time with the best experiences with hands down the best people. And yep, you'll see us all home soon. Talk to you soon, guys. Bye-bye.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right inside here. If you have subscribed or not, subscribe right